Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Isaiah chapter 66, verses 14 and 15. And when you see this, your heart shall rejoice. Your bones shall flourish like an herb. The hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation toward his enemies. For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As you guys know, we've been the last couple of Sabbaths going into the things of the curses. Today we're going to deal with the financial part of that curse. But before we can even get into one thing, we constantly get a reminder of the things that we have to deal with. The police beating tape was released a few days ago, and it's one of those things. It's why it's a slap in the face when people try to compare and say that we so-called have something in common with the people who end up being our landlords, our in charge of everything that we have, but they claim that there's some kind of connection between us and them. But when these things happen, how many situations do we see of anybody else? Well, when the last time we end up seeing any Caucasian being beaten like that? When the last time we saw a video of any Jewish person getting beat like that? The one thing that is the common denominator is it's always us. And it throws people off that, this time it was all black officers. The police force is what it is. They're slave catchers. And the slave catchers always recruited slaves to help them catch other slaves. And they taught the other slave catcher to be just as brutal as they were. So the black slave catcher was normally more brutal than the white one. This was his chance to inflict harm. He has had harm inflicted upon him. But when he gets recruited to go and catch a runaway slave, oh, this is his time. He get to reach down deep for every beating he ever got, and I'm going to inflict this pain on this guy when I catch him. So I don't know why we thrown off. This is what slave catchers do. This is what they were recruited for. And they hungry for the fight. The video was absolutely horrible. One guy is limping in the video. He done hurt himself kicking him.
Yep.
He has kicked this man so many times that he has hurt himself. They're not really considering how hurt they have did to this guy. He's limping like, feel sorry for me because I done hurt myself hurting him. It is really a sad situation that this is what, these things come to. And at some point you ask the question, you have to ask the question looking at the video, what could have made you that angry? See, this is where we have to think about, it's not about what happens to you, but how you handle what happened to you. What could he have said to the police to make them that angry? Because they didn't stop. They held him up. A normal fight, you beat the person till they go to the ground. All right? They go to the ground and fight over, right? No. They held him up so they could keep hitting him. And then they know that camera right there. That was a police camera. This is their camera that caught their beating. This is what happens when you believe that you are justified. This is the problem about being caught in the moment in anger, that you believe that your actions at that point are justified. They feel no remorse, no guilt. They feel nothing but what they have going on at that moment. They are walking back. They're taking a breather so they can come back and inflict some more damage. They forgot they were slaves. See, sometimes the slave catcher gets so, that he has been recruited to catch slaves that he forget he's still one. See, had this been white slave catchers, they wouldn't have been fired that quick. And what was that going to do? That would have mean that we still would have had to pay for their defense. They just let the black slave catcher know that he was a black slave catcher. And what's funny is that people keep saying, it's remarkable how fast they fired him. That's not remarkable. That's black life. It's not remarkable. That's what happened with us. Everybody else get the cookies from the counter. We get the cookies from the counter, and we get called into HR. Did you get those cookies off the counter? Everybody in the break room was getting the cookies off the counter. But that was for a select group of people. What group? The management group. Wait. Say a little bit more about the management group. Okay, the white group. All right, it was for the white group. You was not supposed to get those cookies off that counter. This is our problem. We watch those things happen, and we think we can do the same things. So now, as it is written, it says the sword from without and the terror from within. We get it from the outside and from the in. See, it don't matter what color the beast is that attack your kid. It don't matter if it's a white wolf or a black dog. When your child is gone, your child is gone. And this is what we have to constantly deal with here. And this is why we're breaking these things down about the curses. Because a lot of times you can go in Deuteronomy 28, but it jumps here, it jumps there. Yahweh covers everything. And this is why I have to make, this this statement concerning people who keep trying to make a correlation between the so-called Jewish people and black people. And the timing is impeccable that this movie has come out about the so-called connection between the Jewish and black people that Eddie Murphy in. It's impeccable, but you have to look at, as more and more people start to read, they are starting to make these connections. And at no point do I say the Holocaust didn't happen. I don't even get into, even when people deal with the numbers. There's a lot of questions about the numbers. We can throw all that to the side. All I have to deal with is my God says, I tell the ending before the beginning. And the most horrific event of the Jewish diaspora, diaspora, is the Holocaust, which I can't find it from Genesis to Revelation. I can't find it in the Apocrypha. But the most horrific event that pertains to us, I find it in this book constantly. That brings a question to my mind. I don't have to question what happened in this situation with anybody else. What I have to question is, if you are God's people, how is it that your plight is not in his book? See, people have a tendency, when somebody write a book, they write a book about the individuals who impacted their life, who they feel are important to them. So if you are God's people and you have his attention, now understand, having God's attention ain't always a good situation now. All right? Having God's attention mean that it's 15 people out there doing wrong. Only one he saw was you. See, so understand, when you got his attention, that's good and bad. So when I read this legacy, then whoever has his attention, I'm going to see it in his book. All right? So when I start reading in his book and then I look at the lives of my people, I find out something. Oh, we got his attention. Then that makes me question, how is it somebody else is claiming to be his people, but he don't seem to be interested in their plight? Because if he was, it would be in his book. You don't write a book and not, first thing you open up a book, it tells you something about the author. All right? He gonna tell you something about, what's important to him. That's the first thing I get when I open this book. I find out about Israel. You ain't got to read too far before you start running into it. But then he also gives you a description of the plight of his people. And he don't say all good. This is that thing that we do. When we're in a situation, things that pertain to us always end up good. But a real writer writes the good, the bad, and the ugly. So he'll tell you that he loves his people. He'll tell you his people crazy as kitty little. And he'll tell you, oh, I'm going to whoop them. Oh, I'm going to whoop them good. But then I'm also going to reward them. See, Yahweh covers all the bases, not just one. But the adversary likes for us to stay in one area. And that's the area where things are good. Let's start today's sermon in Deuteronomy chapter 28. And we're going to read verses 1 through 15. Because this is where the nations want you to stay when you're discussing who is and who is not Israel. And in case anybody wondering, this is real black history. See, in a couple of days, they finna get their 28 days, of black history. And it looked like it just started off with a bang. With a videotaped police beating so fresh that the mama warned us, please don't be violent when y'all see this video. People are absolutely horrified just because of just the pause, the picking up at least during the Rodney King, Rodney kept getting up. Okay? Rodney kept getting up, and they was knocking him back down. All right? He had done got his brains beat out. He didn't know to stay down. And he was probably so high, he didn't know to stay down. This guy wasn't getting up. You know, it's deep when you pick somebody up so you can hit them and knock them back down. How do you hold somebody up so you can hit them? Okay? This is how our black history starts off here in America. After all these years, we're still dealing with the same thing. But you know what? Tomorrow in church, Sunday morning church ain't gonna touch it. Why is that? We're so interested in finance that it's certain things that we're supposed to touch, we won't touch. But this is how we have been controlled through this thing of finance. Like you have black colleges in Atlanta that are no longer colleges. How did they get shut down? People say, well, maybe it wasn't a good education. Finance. See, we don't understand. This is a serious warfare. The warfare of finance. You can shut down good things with finance. Tell them, oh, they didn't do their accounting right. Boom, shut them down. So you have black colleges that no longer exist. Not because they were not teaching well. Because the powers that be said, I see a problem in right here where it's a 2, it should have been a 4. Shut down. We're going to strip you of your accreditation. So anybody who go here, they just practicing. Boom, that just shut down the school. Who you know go to school to practice? They can no longer go to that school. All of that was done through finance. Wasn't no bullet shot at it. You have to understand the war of finance. Finance is a different kind of war. They have a straight face when they say, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at it, you just don't qualify. Think so. We'll keep the door open just in case. See, the war of finance looks different. You get rejected with a smile. And then the Caucasian individual comes behind you. He has a credit score half of yours. He has half your down payment. And he gets 2 buildings. And you couldn't get 1. That's the war of finance. And they've been waging it against us. Even all of this that you see with the police, don't get it twisted. It's finance. We'll get into that a little bit later. Deuteronomy 28, and let's start that at verse 1.
And it shall come to pass, if you shall hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh your El, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh your El will set you on high above all nations of the earth.
Okay, so the powers that be want us to stay here. So when other people have achieved things, we've gotten to the point where we call money blessing. So that when people have money, we say that they are blessed. So this is where the powers that be want you to stay. Just stay and focus here on the money. So if these people have the money, they have been blessed by God. But I want you to pay attention. It says to observe and do all his commandments, which I command you this day, that Yahweh your Elohim will set you on high above all nations of the earth. You are not set on high just because you Israel. You set on high if you are Israel and you do the things that are contained in his law. Stay there. So when people are telling you that they are blessed because they are the true children of Israel, I'm going to need you to also watch their dealings and then see, well, wait a minute. That's against his covenant. Wait a minute, so is that. Wait a minute, so is that. Wait a minute, so is that. Wait a minute. So if you're getting all these blessings, but you're doing all of this, you must be, wait a minute, who rewards for bad behavior? Wait a minute. Because Yahweh said he rewards for good behavior. Who that other guy? That other guy said, all you got to do is bow down and worship me. All right? You ain't got to serve. He said, worship. You worship me, I'll give you whatever it is. So wait a minute. So that means we got two income flows on the earth. There's an income flow that comes from Yahweh, and there's an income flow that comes from the adversary, the devil. Who is your source of income? Okay. Go ahead, brother.
You know, brother, it's interesting the subject heading under this. Conditions of blessing in the land.
Conditions.
It's a contract.
But don't you can't say that on Sunday morning. No, God love you unconditionally. It don't matter what you done. It don't matter. The hell it don't. That's a lie, and the truth ain't in it. You know, it's some really good songs out there. You know. He saw the best in me. It don't matter what I done. I like those songs. They sound really good. I know it's a bunch of cootie crap. I know that. But it sounds nice. All right? But understand, this book said you're going to have to stand and give an account for all the things that you've done. So when it said, it don't matter what I done. All right? We're going to see. Because judgment for every idle word that comes out of your mouth sound like it kind of matters. Now, you have the ability. See, this is the beautiful thing that Yahweh has given us. You got the ability to erase some things off your rap sheet based on how you handle yourself. Bottom line, did you do it? Yes, guilty. But you judged yourself here and you did this, this, and this. So I'm going to drop this charge. Hey, man, how you go home? How you go home when you get down there when you hit the bricks? Come on, somebody got some knowledge of this. I ain't, you know what I'm saying? Somebody know about what happened when you hit the bricks. What you want to do, you want to get some of them charges dropped. See? And if your lawyer is Yahshua, hey, my lawyer and the judge, they got a relationship. You understand what I'm talking about? See, this is the only lawyer I want. Don't give me no public pretender. Don't give me no that. I want Yahshua. I don't want that. If I know that's my lawyer, I'm good. See, he's advocating on my behalf, Yahweh. I mean, come on. We know he ain't nothing. All right, we know this. But look, he did this. He did this. He did this thing here. He have momentary lapses of judgment. But look here. So now, but I got somebody advocating for me. But what do you give him a reason? What reason does he have to advocate for you? You just gonna show up and say, hey, Yahshua, I'm Israel. Take care of that business. Good luck on that. Go ahead.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. Right now, we all got the opportunity to put in community service.
Yeah.
I'd rather be out doing community service than locked up. We all got the opportunity for community service right now. We're on probation.
Yep. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on you and overtake you, if you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim.
These blessings shall come on you and overtake you. You have to think about that. A blessing overtaking you. Okay? This is blessing that you didn't even ask for. I mean, the blessing overtook you. I mean, you can literally say, Kish, why you so tired? Well, I've been out here counting all this money. I can't wait to have that problem. I can't wait to have that problem.
Me too.
Glad?
Blessed shall you be in the city, and blessed shall you be in the field.
Uh-huh.
Blessed shall you be the fruit of your body and the fruit of your ground.
Now, it said in the city and in the field. What we have to do? A lot of times we got to run from the city so we can get some peace. Go ahead.
And the fruit of your cattle, the increase of your kind, and the flocks of your sheep. Blessed shall be your basket and your store.
Uh-huh.
Blessed shall you be when you come in, and blessed shall you be when you go out. Yahweh shall cause your enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face.
Uh-huh.
They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways.
Uh-huh. Now, this is the blessing. So when you start getting to the curses, then you find out what? He said, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're the one going to be fleeing 7 ways. Go ahead.
Yahweh shall command the blessing upon you in your storehouses and in all that you set your hand unto. And he shall bless you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you. Yahweh shall establish you an holy people unto himself, as he has sworn unto you, if you shall keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim and walk in his ways.
Now, here it is. Once again, condition. But you blessing your storehouses. You are just storing up blessings. If you walk the way you're supposed to walk. Go ahead.
And all the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yahweh shall make you plenteous in goods, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your ground, in the land which Yahweh swore unto your fathers to give you. Yahweh shall open unto you his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto your land in his season, and to bless all the work of your hand. And you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow.
How many black banks?
I think there's only one in Georgia, ain't there? One in Atlanta.
Hey, we definitely ain't the ones lending. And when we do get something, it somehow finds gasoline and matches. See, this is historically what has happened to us in this place. See, people don't want to deal with that. Why black people don't want to do this? Why they don't want to do. When black people achieved too much, they called us uppity Negroes. It was the uppity Negroes whose houses got burnt. It was the uppity Negroes who decided to go to college. They set their stuff on fire. The uppity Negroes who decided to try to vote, those are the ones that got attacked. But other people want to say they are connected with us. Right. Go ahead.
And Yahweh shall make you the head and not the tail, and you shall be above only, and you shall not be beneath, if that you hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you this day to observe and do them. And you shall not go aside from any of the words which I command you this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you.
So now you have a situation where blessings either overtake you or curses overtake you. So when you talk about curses overtaking you, that means you run fast. The curse runs faster.
You know what? I'm going to move out of the city. I'm going to get me a place in the suburbs. And I'm just going to live happily ever after.
You happy for 3 months. And in month 4, the curse moves next door to you. Right. It's overtaking you. So we have an overtaking on either side. But if we stay where the nations want us to stay in dealing with the blessings and just call out whoever has blessings, and that must be some people who are blessed by Yahweh, if this is the current state of Israel, then Israel has no need to be saved. There's no need for a Messiah. There's no need for a second coming if Israel stayed in the first state. If Israel stayed in verses 1 through 14, there's a whole lot of this book that doesn't exist in. So it is a real trick of the devil for him to tell us that some people are blessed, so that says that they are the children of Israel. If that's the case, the rest of this doesn't come to pass. But we have things that have come to pass and are still in the process of coming because we didn't stay in verses 1 through 14. All right? We know that for a fact. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11. Go ahead, brother.
You know, there's some people that really understand these curses. I was reading about a Mormon lady, black lady, where the Mormons told her, you know, you're older now, you should go ahead and get married, black lady. But they told her, you need to marry a black man. So she kept going, why, because she wanted to hear him. Which is like, no, because if you marry a white man, then your children going to be cursed. And I think we look at this whole, where they say, you've been cursed black. But there's the other understanding of them saying, no, you gonna marry this white man, your curse is coming into this house. So he gonna have to deal with the curses that's following you. And that's what, we get up in arms. What they mean we curse? Nah, these people know enough to say, now we want you to stay away from our white men and don't bring these curses with you into his household.
Hey, the curses follow you, and it's one of those things that we kind of get caught up into this color part. The whole part of dealing with Canaan, man, they black too. So Yahweh told black people not to get with these other black people. So we want to deal with this thing on a color line, and that's where we stop at, because that's what colonialism teaches us. See, this is the game of colonialism. Turn all the various hues against each other. See, so you got to think about it. You don't have variations. Our people believe that, we light skinned, if we got mixed with white people. Let me tell you something. There are varying colors of black. You understand? Let's go and get it right down. Ain't but one white. So if they're gonna divide each other, they have to divide over families, over tribes, over things like that. Okay? You gotta look at Ethiopian black. That's still a different hue. You look at there's so many different shades of black. That don't mean they were mixed with somebody. This is the game that we take on. Not understanding the different color. We will be a different color depending on whether or not we live in the city or the country. Go on vacation and come back. Everybody gonna be looking at you. What the hell happened to you? I had some relatives went to the islands, took the glasses off and looked like a reverse coon. I said, what? All of this was dark except the eyes. And it just looked like, they were going to ask questions all day. What happened to you? They went near the sun where they supposed to be. Automatically got darker. That was just vacation. What you think happens if you spend your whole life there? We change like that. So that's one of the things that we have to consider, how colonialism plays this game and plays the different hues against one another. Go ahead.
It says chapter 11 and verse 1. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yah.
Now you on verse 2. Isaiah 11, start at verse 1.
That wasn't verse 1. And I'm sorry. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yah.
Now, this is dealing with all 7 spirits that Yahshua is going to have. All right? Go ahead.
And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yah, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their youngs shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den.
They playing with snakes. They playing with snake. A kid run around putting his hand in the snake hole, playing with the snake. Our problem is we want to do this now. And we can't figure out.
My hand keeps swelling up.
Yeah, right. Who that put out the thing that the somebody had, the one person had killed one lion and the brother lion ate him?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you know, see, this kind of stuff we do. Man, I can't wait for the day that I can get me a lion. I can't wait. But I'm going to wait. You understand what I'm saying to you? You understand? I can't wait, but I'm going to wait. Because that's not nothing to play with. And people are like, you know what? No, he's calm, he's friendly. Yeah. And at any point, without any provocation, he may turn back animal. And just look at me and I might have worn the wrong cologne that day. And it might remind him of chicken. You know? Or maybe you got to think about it, you know, an animal. Maybe you was sweating and you was a little bit funky. But that smelled like a wildebeest. Do you smell wildebeest? I think I do. You know what I'm saying? Now this normally nice lion just decided that you was a full meal deal. I'm not playing with that. We're gonna wait on that. Okay? But the point is, all of these things start to coincide with what is going to happen with Israel. So we then have to ask ourselves, did these things happen since 1948? Go ahead.
They shall not hurt nor destroy on all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
Now, the Gentiles are going to seek this thing, okay? So, how are the Gentiles going to seek the Gentiles? The Gentiles are going to seek the Hebrews for the peace that comes upon the earth. But the people who are in the land look just like the people who invaded the land. We'll get there. Go ahead.
You know, brother, even at the end of verse 9 here, like you saying, has these things happened since 1948? For the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh.
Right. If the earth was full of the knowledge of Yahweh, they wouldn't have pride parades in Israel. One of the biggest pride parades in the world. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass in that day Adonai shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros,
from Germany,
and from Cush,
from Germany,
and from Elam,
from Germany,
and from Shinar,
from Germinar,
and from Hamath,
from Jermath,
and from the islands of the sea,
from Jamaica. What? I'm trying to read the thing. Why y'all tripping? I'm trying to figure this out. Okay? We're gonna figure this out together. Go ahead, bro.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth.
Wait a minute, four corners of the earth? Is Germany all over the earth? What does they have? Do they have a South Germany, a North Germany? What's happening here? So either Yahweh, and people always say, you know what, man, I don't read the Bible, man, because it's a thing, you know, for the white man. Well, the white man wasn't paying attention because he left too many clues in her that it wasn't him. Okay, so if all those brothers who have that issue and that problem, I don't think you're really reading right. Because if he wrote this book for him, there's a whole lot of stuff he would have took out of here. A whole lot. Go ahead.
The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Yehudah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Yehudah, and Yehudah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod.
All right, so then he's going to make it to where the children of Israel can get back to Israel. Go ahead.
And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
Right. So then he's making sure that this path is laid for them. The book says they're going to be asking how to get to Zion. Yet people tell you, we've always been here. Well, that pretty much tells me who you are not. You pretty much stole on yourself right there. Because it says the true children are going to be asking, excuse me, where is Zion? While you're boasting, we've been here for generations. Interesting you say that. Let's go to the prophet Yoel. Yoel chapter 3. In case don't let me hear you walking around here talking about you from Jamaica. Now, you know what I'm saying? Don't do it, bruh. Don't do it. Don't you do it.
9:33.
I say he is from Jamaica.
Joel chapter 3 and verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem.
Now, we're gonna look up, because I want y'all to see the definition, because a lot of times we talk about something and I say bring again means cause to cease. We're gonna read that definition so you can understand what's being said here. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehuda and Jerusalem. The subheading of this says the restoration of Israel. So restoration means that we didn't stay in verses 1 through 14 in Deuteronomy 28. There's no need to restore if you stayed in verses 1 through 14. So it's a given and an understanding at this point that we did not stay at those verses. So that means the curses were enacted. Okay, if the curses were enacted, then we then have to look, then that gives us a point of reference to pinpoint who his people are. So this is not just my thought, this is the flow of the reading. Go ahead.
I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink.
Right. So these are the things that we had to go through. Okay. These are the things where it says they've parted the land. Okay. I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. They have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. And we know that they put on the miniseries, The Book of the Negroes. They were selling us for cognac. But people say, there's a connection between us and them. I didn't see them being sold. I did see them doing some selling, though. Go ahead.
We keep talking about subheadings here. This one, before that, all goes down, the judgment of the Gentiles. Mm-hmm. And then you look at who they sold a boy for an harlot. So it goes to show you the mentality from way back then of molesting these little boys.
Hey, most of the little boys, most of the slaves were young boys. So if you see what happens to the little boys now among just regular Gentile organizations, those Boy Scouts, it's some of them badges you don't want. Some of those badges you don't want. So what you think they did when they had free range of those kids? And there's no law that can tell them what they cannot do to those kids. Come on, man. And it's one of those things that we don't want to discuss. It's just hard for men to discuss situations like that. But understand, when you give people to other people as gifts, as payment for debts, do y'all understand that? That somebody owed somebody some money. They would pay off the debt by giving them one of us. Go ahead.
You read the story with the two dudes here in Atlanta that adopted them boys?
Hey, man, it is one of the things that is, really, upsets the whole situation, where the two men, and they say, that anybody could raise a family. They got this little twisted show where they have this thing where they examine the parenting model. And they have, all these different parents and how they raise their kids. Of course, they got two men in there as a family raising two boys. And they're examining each situation. And what they're really putting forth is, hey, families can be made up any old kind of way. All right? So, and they're actually going through scenarios where these two guys sit down and talk about, how their houses ran, and they examine with the kids. They have situations like the kid was to jump off the high dive, So then they have, the gay parents see how they deal with their kids jumping off the high dive. And then they'll go to another parent and see how they deal with the high dive. And then they'll go in and talk about which one had the best parenting model. So now, it's putting this thing in people's head, that this is a good parenting model. So these people in Georgia, these two men adopt the kid, and two kids, I think, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And they was pimping the kids out. They molesting the kids, then passing the kids around to be taken advantage of in other places, and the kid has gotten damaged from, physically damaged from the things that have happened to the child. Now I want to see how many times that end up on the news. Like that ended up on my phone. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for that because it's all these things you can't say. You say this is wrong, this is wrong. I want to see how many times this gonna run across the news and they're gonna put these people face up and say this is what they've done to these kids that they legally adopted. Let's see if they run it as many times as they ran the Kyrie story. Let's see if we see it that many times. Go ahead.
Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold on to the Greeks.
Okay. So we then have to ask ourselves, if those are the children of Israel in Jamaica, Germany, that came from there, okay, then we ought to be able to look in their history and find where they were sold to the Greeks. Who find that? If you are telling me that you are the children of Israel, because what I read here says the children of Israel were sold to the Greeks. Greeks are Gentiles, right? Okay. I can look at my history and I can find where my people were sold to Gentiles. When I look in Israel, I see Gentiles. So I'm trying to figure out how the Gentiles were sold to Gentiles. Where were you sold to these people? Go ahead.
That you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I'll raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head.
And we have been spread all across the globe. Go ahead.
And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehuda, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for Yahweh hath spoken it.
Now you have to wonder why Yahweh would do this part right here. All right. I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehudah. But then they are going to sell them to the Sabaeans. Wait a minute. You sold my people. I'm not going to let them have you so they won't be the ones mistreating you. Yahweh even knows how to keep your hands clean. Because, see, a lot of us, we like, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I was reading a book the other night. I saw, what I'm saying? Yeah, uh-huh. Come on in here, slave. Let me see. Come here. No. He said, you know what? I'm going to take that out your hand. Now, here you go. Now sell them. Now they understand what it feels like to be brokered off. But whatever happened to them won't be by your hand. Go ahead.
Proclaim you this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause your mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
Uh-huh.
Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision.
Uh-huh.
The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining.
Now, this is a common concept that you see when you're talking about the second coming of the Messiah. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. So, how is it that these events have not taken place, but there are already some people who have been placed in the land as Israel? Go ahead.
Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake.
Great earthquakes. Remember, it was an earthquake at the point of what they did to Yahshua. So then there's an earthquake when Yahshua returns. How is it that these things have not taken place, but there's already a state of Israel? Go ahead.
But Yahweh will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall you know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her any more. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Yehudah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth out of the house of Yahweh, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Yehudah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Yehudah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahweh dwells in Zion.
All right. So in the beginning, the very first verse of this, it said, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem. Now, I want you to read the definition here of bring again, and I want you to pay attention, read the words, the bold words.
Okay. From H7725, Shub, to turn back, bring again, bring back, bring home again, call to mind, carry again, carry back, cease, come again, come back, deliver, deliver again, draw back, fetch home again, get oneself back again, go again, go back, home, pull in again, recall, recompense, recover, refresh, relieve.
So then understand, for behold, in those days and in the time when I shall cause the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem to return, to turn back. Okay? to recall, to recompense them, to recover them. Go ahead.
Relieve, to render again. Requite, rescue. Restore, retrieve, cause to make to return, cause to return, make to return, reverse, send back, set again, slide back, take back.
So then when you look at these things, you understand what it's talking about. So this is saying, and we're in the prophet Yoel. We are way past the Egyptian situation in Deuteronomy. And he's talking about restoring Israel. They're still captives. We're in the middle of the book. So for Israel to be returned, they are returning from being captives. That's not how the state of Israel was produced. And the way the powers that be play the game with you, when you start quoting the obvious, now you have become anti-Semitic. And the game of anti-Semitism is truly a game whereby you try to defend yourself to say you're not anti-Semitic. But what you're doing is not proving that they're not Semites at all. So they're getting you to verify their Semitic past by not actually questioning it, because you're so busy dealing with the accusation that was placed upon you that you are taking care of you, not the slick, underhanded thing that was thrown at you. So each time you defend yourself against anti-Semitism, you are helping to solidify the lie that they are actually Semites. Did you finish that?
Yes.
Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 30. So that's the game of how the devil plays. And the devil don't care who he uses. He uses anybody. Deuteronomy chapter 30, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon you, the blessing and the curse.
Whoa. So both of these things have to take place. Okay? So when somebody, see, this is the game. Stay on the blessings. You see how rich they are? You know, I heard actually one of our people, you know, one of the more book top preachers, you know, oh yeah, you see how blessed they are? Surely those are God's people. Look at all that money. See, that's all Pastor Porkchop can think about is money. You see all that money? Well, that definitely mean they are blessed. Look at that. Look at that money. There's money coming everything they touch. That's all we want, because we want to stay 1 through 14. Wait a minute. But it was strictly told us, when all these things have come, the blessing and the curse. So if you're going to show me a blessing, but you can't show me the curse, we got a problem. Go ahead.
Which I have set before you. And you shall call them to mind among all the nations where the Yahweh your Elohim has driven you. And shall return unto Yahweh your Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul. That when Yahweh your Elohim shall turn your captivity.
Wait a minute. The very thing that we read in Yoel, turning the captivity. All right? So understand. So the very thing that we have in the Torah, this is why people who so-called claim that they are Israel, they can't read the Torah. They got to go get in the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Gemara. They got to get into all these other things, because the Torah is going to constantly convict them. They can't keep reading this. They will talk the Torah, but that ain't what they're going to read. Go ahead.
And have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all the nations.
There you go again. Plural. So now the game is to say, well, now all the children of Israel are coming home out of all the nations. So now they're pulling Gentiles from everywhere now and claim that this is that. Man, I tell you what, the devil has no shame. Go ahead.
Whether Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you.
Right. And you can't say he scattered you if you had a ticket. If you have a ticket, you were not scattered. Okay? Go ahead.
If any one of yours be driven out onto the utmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh your Elohim gather you, and from thence will he fetch you.
Uh-huh.
And Yahweh your Elohim will bring you into the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it, and he will do you good, and multiply you above your fathers. And Yahweh your Elohim will circumcise your heart, and the heart of your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul, that you mayest live. And Yahweh your Elohim will put all these curses upon your enemies, and on them that hate you, which persecute you.
Which persecuted you. See, this is why people don't want to stay in certain parts of this book. See, they want to stay in the New Testament, and they just want to cherry pick verses. They want to stay in Happy Land. Now, the only way you can stay in Happy Land if you decide you're not going to read a whole chapter. Because even the New Testament cut up that doctrine. So the way they stay in Happy Land is we're going to read one verse. And today's sermon is going to be Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2. You mean tell me we're going to talk for 2 hours about verse 2? At this rate, I'm going to have to live. I'm going to have to be as old as Methuselah to actually get this whole book. If we ain't going to read but one verse every week. All right, now, verse 2. Next week, we're going to read verse 3. What? But we're happy with that. Matter of fact, those are the richest individuals. That's how the finance game is being played. That's where all the money goes. So you got people who will tune into our broadcast for free, learn more than they've ever learned, won't leave one dime, then go to Pastor Porkchop and drop 4,000. And they ain't learned nothing now. But be on our website constantly, learning for free. But they get all the money. And they deliver one verse. And if you want more than that, you got to get the DVD for $45.99. Go ahead.
And you shall return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command you this day.
Mm-hmm.
And Yahweh your Elohim will make you plenteous in every work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your cattle, and in the fruit of your land, for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. If you shall hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law, and if you turn unto Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
Conditions that are there. Now, when you talk about gather you from all the countries, there's a whole nother game that's being played. I saw a video where a Gentile is saying, if you were scattered over the earth, because now we, of course, it's very evident of what has happened unto us. The Gentile is coming to the aid of the Jewish. It's saying, if you were scattered all over the earth and you question the children of Israel, you might be Esau. That was directed at us. So now this is how good the devil play. The devil's so slick, he said, I'm you and you me. So they got one of their hired hitmen, because you know, you can buy a Christian. Christians, they always on sale. They always on, you can always buy. Hey, didn't Eddie Long buy some Christian, he bought him some Jewish Christians. So they came and rolled them in the scroll, carried them around. He's sick with whatever that is he done gave them little boys already. He can barely stand up. They had to wrap him in the scroll to keep him from falling. Done carried him around, proclaiming him king. King of what? But see, the understanding of this work, y'all would be surprised how many pastors of organizations are watching. They online right now. I mean, think about it. They ain't got to go to church till tomorrow. They online right now. They getting 42 Sundays worth of stuff already. We ain't even finished. Read, Bruce.
That was it.
That was it.
Yep.
So you got to look at this game. So now I want to go to First Maccabees, because when we look at how this game is being played, you know, part of this whole finance war, there's a setup. So we got to get to that point. See, we have to get to who is in charge. When we read in the book of Daniel, we know that the Gentiles were given a certain amount of time to rule the earth. So there's a problem if the Jews and the Gentiles are ruling at the same time. We got a problem. How is it that there's a nation of Israel, but the Gentiles are still in power? See, these are things that you have to pay attention to. And if you don't call it out, you know, you're not being true to yourself. But understand, when you do call it out, you're going to be called some names. All right? First Maccabees, chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian.
And we can find these things in their secular history. And we understand that it was Gentiles who went about to conquer the whole earth, warring all over. Mr. Alexander the Great, that made war with everybody. So we understand when it says Gentiles, who are you talking about? Because see, now our people are so twisted. You walk up to the average person and they'll tell you, you can't get no more confused than this. What are you? I'm African American. So what are you in the Bible? I'm a Gentile. Wait a minute. You are African and a Gentile? You can't get no more confused than that right now. You can't get no more. You might well tell yourself you a cat dog. You can't get no more. You're African American and a Gentile. The first statement of African should have already been a clue to you. You're African American and a Gentile. Go ahead.
Who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
Uh-huh.
And made
Now,
many...
wait a minute. It says to the what did we read in Joel chapter 3? He said, you sold my people. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. So we see who came in and waged war, right? So we can connect these dots. So then my next question is, how did the people of Israel get to Germany if they were sold by... Where is the transaction with the other Gentiles? Which is already going to be difficult because when I look at them, I can't tell the difference if they don't have a hat on. So I can't tell who's the buyer and who's the seller and who's being sold. I can't tell any of that. Now, when we're in the picture, I don't have to try to figure out who is the slave. I can look at the transaction and tell you which one is the seller, which one is the buyer, and which one is the product. I can tell that real easy. But when all of them look alike, it's kind of hard to figure out who buying, who selling, and who getting bought. Go ahead.
And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Right. A warring people. Yahweh never gave us the right to go and war in somebody else's land. He said, you blow the trumpet when you are oppressed and you go to war in your land. He never gave us the right to go and say, you know what? You know, there's some real good grass over there over those hills. You know what? Go and get it. Even when he said, You gonna go and get my land. It's mine. I'm gonna give it to you. You going to take my land. I have given it to you. He didn't say go over there and go take somebody else's. Go ahead.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries, and nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who pursued many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right. So then we see that this Grecian has warred all the way to Israel, and now is affecting Israelite customs. Automatically, this has always been their push. So when people say, you can keep any day as the Sabbath, it was always something that they warred against. The only way a warring people can continue to get recruits for an army that is constantly depleting. If you're constantly going to war, you're constantly losing people. So then you have to keep recruiting people. The way to keep those recruits on one mindset is to give them one culture. So you need to take out we don't do this, we don't eat this, we don't do. You need to pull that and strip that from them, and then you will constantly have recruits in the army that you have to have because you can't stay at home. You're constantly wanting to war and take other lands. This is a system. And that system is still going on today, and our people don't even understand that we're playing a part in it. Go ahead.
So this device pleased them well.
Right. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. And start that at verse 15. We're going to read 15 through 17, and then I want you to jump to verse 20. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15.
But it shall come to pass, if you will not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the field.
Now, before it said that we were going to be blessed in the city, blessed in the field. Go ahead.
Cursed shall be your basket and your store.
Cursed shall be your basket and your store. I jump to verse 20.
Yahweh shall send upon you cursing, vexation, and rebuke, in all that you set your hand unto for to do, until you be destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings, whereby you have forsaken me.
So then all of this is based on us not taking care of Yahweh's law, and then he put these curses upon us. So the curse shall be your basket and your store. Let's go to this article, and I want you to start reading here. We may jump around a little bit, but this is called food apartheid. He says, curse shall be your basket and your store. Go ahead.
Racialized access to healthy, affordable food. April 2nd, 2021, Nina Sevilla. Food insecurity rates have skyrocketed during the COVID-19 pandemic. But even before March 2020, many Americans already faced challenges accessing healthy and affordable food. Food desert was become a common
Desert.
Desert has become a common term to describe low-income communities, often communities of color, where access to healthy and affordable food is limited or where there are no grocery stores. Living in Tucson, Arizona, in the Sonoran Desert, taught me that despite its common usage, food desert is an inaccurate and misleading term that pulls focus from the underlying root cause of the lack of access to healthy food in communities. The language we use to describe the issues can inspire solutions, so we should follow the lead of food justice leaders who urge us to reconceptualize food deserts as food apartheid by focusing on creating food sovereignty through community-driven solutions and systemic change.
Now, if you pay attention, right around here, all these grocery stores just start closing. Okay? And it starts being further and further before you can get to a real grocery store. Now, you can get that corner store where, you know what I'm saying, where you can get some Jifs, some Pops, some, some stuff like that. You get some chips. You can kill yourself on Doritos. But it's getting further and further before you can get groceries. Now, understanding this from a finance and war, there was a point where in Israel, they barricaded us in. And they starved to death to the point where they started eating each other. So, they got tanks that's been given to them. And if those food stores keep getting pushed out further and further, they're strategically located. If they set up those tanks in a barrier, you can't get to a grocery store. On the first day of protest, everybody's strong. Power to the people. Round day 14. Very few people, and there's real little power when you ain't got no grits. The game changes. So then, this is a war. This is a finance war that logistically is already being set up. I mean, it's a huge empty parking lot right down the street. It was a huge Kroger. Gone. You had things as rich as Walmart is. Walmart start closing some stores. How Walmart closed? This is like the devil in a blue dress. They open up stores everywhere. Walmart got stores in the water. They just, hey, come on out here. Just come on out here. We call it water bar. Just come on out here. They got that. How you close? Oh yeah, shutting off certain communities. Go ahead. Let's go to the next graphic.
The term food desert emerged in the 1970s and 80s, but in the past decade has really caught on and is now a common concept in economic and public health fields. The racial demographics of the areas described by this term are most often Black and Latino.
Imagine that. And you said Jewish, right?
Black and Latino.
I heard you said Jamaica.
No.
Right there. You said Black, Latino, and Jamaicans.
No.
Right?
No.
You didn't say that?
No.
Man, go ahead.
When comparing communities with similar poverty rates, Black and Latino neighborhoods tend to have fewer supermarkets that offer a variety of produce and healthy foods and have more small retail, i.e. convenience and liquor stores.
There you go. So y'all supposed, if you get munchies, you can get you some Twinkies and you can get you some of that malt liquor. You understand? That's all y'all need to survive. Twinkies and malt liquor. Hell, you were slaves, you lived off anything. Y'all can survive. I'll get them Twinkies and get that malt liquor. You ain't got no milk, pour that malt liquor right there in the cereal. Right there. Right. See, when you go in other neighborhoods, you find out, wait a minute. It ain't a liquor store on every corner here. You got to pay attention to how many liquor stores in the hood. Every other block. And you know what? It ain't us that own the liquor store. So who keep telling everybody to come in our neighborhood and set up these liquor stores? And who keep giving them money to do it? Because half these folks don't speak a lick of English. But they got enough money to set up a store fully stocked with alcoholic beverages. They can't say cognac, but they ordered it. How you even order this? You can't say it. Interesting. Go ahead.
That have fewer produce options than in predominantly white neighborhoods. Despite its prevalence, the term food desert has come under scrutiny for two reasons. It obscures the vibrant life and food systems in these communities. It implies that these areas are naturally occurring.
Right. Now remember how I told y'all the word game, all right? Where during Katrina, you know, when the white people need something, they commandeered it. I needed a boat, and I needed supplies. So I seen a boat, I commandeered it. And I went in that store, and I got my family some bread. Oh my God, he's here. They said, well, let's talk to this black gentleman over here. Sir, why do you keep looting? And then you stole this boat to go, wait, hold on. I did the same thing he did. His family was in need. The water was high. I got a boat. And I went in that store and got my family some bread. You made him a hero, and you made me a criminal. By what? Wording. See? The same situation, but it was explained a different way. So by calling it a food desert, then that's just naturally occurred. But when you understand that this is a finance game that pushes those stores out of your area, now you understand it's a finance war. But by using the term desert, you just think, well, you know what happened in the desert. You know what I'm saying? Things just get dry. You know what I'm saying? Dried up out here. Come to figure out there's somebody controlling whether or not it dries up or not. Let's go to the next graphic.
First, the word desert typically conjures up dramatic images of vast, arid landscapes with little to no vegetation and water. Common uses of the word describe the absence of life or activity, but most deserts are full of adapted plants and have sustained human and animal populations for centuries. I fell into the trap of this misconception when I moved to Tucson. I thought it was going to be devoid of all life. But when I got there, I realized that the Sonoran Desert in Arizona, like most deserts, can be quite abundant, especially when they have the right resources. Using the word desert to imply a location's inferiority as a desolate place writes off the people who live there, as well as the flora and fauna that are actually present in deserts.
Jump to the next graphic.
Second, by using the term desert, one is implying that food deserts are naturally occurring. Deserts are classified by amount of precipitation an area receives. So they are dictated by weather patterns, forces beyond human control. Though increasing desertification due to climate change is exacerbated by human activities. For the most part, deserts are naturally occurring. Food deserts, in contrast, are not naturally occurring. They are the result of systematic racism and oppression in the form of zoning codes.
Stop. See, there's certain things that you don't even, that it changes the face of racism. It's this hidden racism where these zoning codes, oh no, you can't put that there. Well, wait a minute, you let him put one across the street? Yeah, but see, we redrew the lines. It come right around his business, loop around his parking lot, and go back up the hill. You're not in that district. We rezoned it. Right. This is the game that they play with us. while they can still show the face that they are not racist. Go ahead.
Lending practices and other discriminatory policies.
And we're going to get deeper into those lending practices, all right, which is another thing that plagues us. Go ahead.
Rooted in white supremacy. Using the term desert implies that the lack of healthy and affordable food is somehow naturally occurring and obscures that it is the direct result of racially discriminatory policies and systematic disinvestment in these communities.
Right. There's certain investment that goes on in communities, and you have to ask yourself, how is it that there are businesses in our neighborhood, but we don't own any of them? Who is giving the money to come and set up shop in our neighborhoods? So are they meeting these people at the border? How are all these foreigners getting in our neighborhood and they have money to set up businesses but can't even speak the language? How are they getting these loans? How are they getting zoned for them to be able to set up these things? Go to the next graphic.
A homeowners loan corporation redlining map from the 1930s that labeled hazardous majority black areas of Nashville, Tennessee in red. Building more grocery stores won't necessarily make things better. Sometimes grocery stores are unaffordable to their surrounding communities.
So if you pay attention to the map, what they would do is, I had somebody that was trying to get some insurance, and they called insurance agent, and they put in the address. They said, "Oh no, we don't insure in that area." I said, "What?" They said, "Yeah." They said that they don't insure in this area. I said, "That's like 3 miles from my house. What do you mean they told you they don't insure there?" He said, "No. Nobody in that area can have insurance with this company." What did they make up their maps? So where you see this little red area, all right, all of these people here, these people are going to get higher premiums. They're going to get less product. They're going to get all of this. And see, because of how the game goes, you don't know what your white friend is paying in insurance. See, y'all work at the same job. Y'all getting the same money. But it just seems like he just keep getting more than you. Right. The insurance on your car is higher. The insurance on your house is higher. Your mortgage, y'all got the same size house, but your mortgage $300, $400, $500 higher than his. Your house exactly the same size in the same neighborhood. How are you paying more than him? They put they coded yours. They put that little dot on there to let them know.
This applicant is Negroidal.
Oh, y'all don't understand that they got those? That you don't actually have to say. You can put on there, I refuse to say what my ethnic background is. It don't matter. They got a code. And they learn how to read the code on it. And that code tells them exactly what you are. You got the black rate. Go ahead.
Sociologists have started using the term food mirage to describe the phenomenon when there are places to buy food, but they are too expensive for their neighborhood. And as Karen Washington and research from Johns Hopkins University highlight, people who live in the places labeled food deserts most of the time do have food, but often the food they can afford is fast food or junk food. People who work in public health have come up with another term for the areas with easier access to fast food and junk food than to healthier food swamps. Rather than simply building grocery stores, some of these communities need stable jobs and a livable wage to change their access to healthier food.
All right, I want to jump. Let's go to graphic number 18. I want to go to Deuteronomy 28. And I want you to go to 23 and 25.
So we're going to Graphics number 18.
Yeah, graphic number 18. And we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I want you to read verses 23 through 25.
Okay. And your heaven that is over your head shall be brass, and the earth that is under you shall be iron.
Now, you already have basically a situation where your money is not doing what it's supposed to do because of outside influences. But because of the curses, you're going to get the more difficult jobs. And if you pay attention to any work environment, look at where the hardest jobs in that place is, and look at what people are doing those jobs. Walk in the warehouse. Look at the one that you said, ain't no way in the hell I'm doing that. That's a brother on that thing. Go ahead.
And Yahweh shall make the rain of your land powder and dust. From heaven shall it come down upon you until you be destroyed.
Jump to verse 29.
And you shall grope at noonday as the blind gropes in darkness, and you shall not prosper in your ways. And you shall be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save you.
All right, jump to verse 33.
The fruit of your land and all your labors shall a nation which you knoweth not eat up. And you shall be only oppressed and crushed always.
Right, but see now the common, as the Jewish say, the anti-Semitic trope is that black people lazy. Now we done built this whole thing, and the folks had a nerve to say you lazy. You get the hardest jobs. When we make $70,000, we supposed to get paid $140. Go ahead.
So that you shall be mad for the sight of your eyes, which you shall see.
All right, jump to verse 36.
Yahweh shall bring you and your king, which you shall set over you, onto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall you serve other gods, wood and stone.
Right. One of the things I've heard the so-called Jewish answer for Hebrew Israelites is, they're just some Christians who have all of a sudden think that they're Israel. Understand, this right here says that the children of Israel would be Christians. It says, there shall you serve gods of wood and stone. Wood is the cross. Stone is Islam, the rock, the holiest site is the Dome of the Rock. So part of the curse is that the children of Israel were going to be made to serve other gods. He said that is your punishment. You would not serve me, so I'm going to make you serve the other gods. So once again, they also tell on themselves, we've been doing this for centuries. That kind of proves who you are not. See? Go ahead.
And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, where the Yahweh shall lead you. You shall carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it.
Right. And our locusts, we got man locusts. They either taxing us, they taking from us, they do the man. We got the problem. If we do it right, we had a problem with the government. We get in the street and then the thugs tax you. Brother, you can't sell on this corner. You know what I'm saying? There is a fee for this block. You understand what I'm saying to you? So you got to pay $2,500 to stand out here tonight. And I hope you make over your $2,500 quota. You go in the... Like, man, we getting taxed on every side. Go ahead.
I'm laughing because, he's saying the locust. I don't care who you are. As long as you one of us, you under the curse. You read the thing about Usain Bolt lately? Man, he done some investment firm, $12 million of his dollars gone.
Wow. Bro, I lose $12. And I'm distraught. Yeah. I'm back there in my office. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, just give me a minute. Give me a minute.
I can't find that 10 and them 2 ones. I can't find them.
12 million, Yahweh might have to come and convince me, hey, bro, it's the Sabbath. You need to go teach. Yahweh, I don't want to. You might have to send somebody to come get me. Go ahead, bro.
You shall plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for worms shall eat them. Now,
Here's the thing. This is systematically what happens with us. We become the fuel for everybody else's richness. Other ethnic groups profit from everything they do. So this connection that people keep claiming, I'm trying to figure out where it's at. Go ahead.
You shall have olive trees throughout all your coasts, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olive shall cast his fruit.
Right. There's so many things that we have invented here. Major corporations that we applying for. Our people was the one that invented the whole thing. But we applying. Slave master took that invention.
That was a good thing, Slade. Make some more of them. I'm going to sell them to Mr. Johnson plantation down there.
And so the business was born. And there's so many of them businesses, we couldn't sit here and mention all of them. Go ahead.
You shall beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All your trees and fruit of your land shall the locust consume.
Right. So you have this thing then. Now, let's go to Haggai chapter 1. Because when we start talking about this thing, okay, you're working, but it just seems like the productivity doesn't seem to be coming the same way it's happening to other individuals.
963.
All right, appreciate it. And see, we won't even necessarily see that as part of the curse. We just think we're having a hard time. Haggai chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 15.
In the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month, in the 1st day of the month, came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehuda, and to Yahshua the son of Josedek, the high priest, saying, Thus speak Yahweh of hosts, saying, This people say, the time is not come, the time that Yahweh's house should be built. Then came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O you, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste?
Right. So this is something that we don't even consider. They said, whoa. As you sit in your house, how is Yahweh's house sitting? Go ahead.
You know, I just wanted to hit on the first one, the 2nd year of Darius the king. And it's the same Darius that Alexander killed. It was in the time of Alexander.
You got a whole lot of things that end up lining up. And you look at, these folks have been warring. Basically, the whole Babylonian thing is just them keep fighting over it. It keeps changing hands. So it's Gentiles fighting Gentiles, going to operate this same thing. But at the end of the day, you got a certain amount of time to rule. So you can keep on fighting, you keep on doing whatever. When the time is up, that time is up. And all we can just keep praying, just keep tick-tocking, y'all. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Go ahead.
Now therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much and bring in little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages earns wages to put it into a bag with holes.
In a bag with holes. I keep putting the money in there, and the money keep coming out. I swear I put 15 coins in here. Every time I look, it's still 5. If find another way to keep pulling that money. So what happened is, okay, so you make the money and then they raise the rate of this. Boom, that money gone. That money gone before you even get it. You know, strange things like, man, we've been going back and forth. We ain't had a water bill. Our water bill for the whole year was $900. They gave us a water bill last month for $980. You mean tell me, you trying to tell me in 30 days we use a year worth of water? This how they play. And then make you go and do all the work to try not to pay the $1,000 water bill. $1,000 on water, I'm telling you, all y'all gonna be peeing in a cup. Ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna be saying, sister, you got your cup? You take your cup with you back there. Yeah, hey. Nah, man, I'm not paying no $1,000 water bill. That's not gonna happen. So now, you know, I got to get, me and the brothers done went out there, we done had to talk. This is the power of fellowshipping though. As you start talking, other people have been through other things and they can help you out. Most of the time though, we just sit there and suffer in quiet. And that's why we go through everything. But we know Yonah not gonna suffer in quiet. He gonna tell you, oh, Lord! You know, but everybody else. But everybody else, you know, you don't say nothing, you don't know. Somebody else said, no, I had the same problem with the water company. All right, this is what you need to do. Man, got some brothers to go up there, open up this thing. We're going to start turning this water off. I said, let's go back down there and look at that meter. Brother said, you know, get a reading on the meter. I said, man, ain't nothing on that meter. I took pictures of that meter. Wrote an email, sent to them. They was like, okay, sir, well, we right on it. I get this meter changed, get all of this. And I got another question. How you billing me if the meter ain't on? Mr. Israel, I don't know what happened. Control Alt Delete. Right. See, but see, that's that hole in your bag. See, that's that hole in your bag. $1,000 for 1 month. That's that hole in your bag. They keep trying to put a hole in your bag. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the house, and I'll take pleasure in it, and I'll be glorified, said Yahweh. You looked for much, and lo, it came to little. And when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why? Says Yahweh of hosts. Because of mine house that is waste, and you run every man onto his own house. Therefore the heaven over you is stayed from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I called for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground brings forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labor of the hands.
Now, understand something. If your enemy understands this, that this is why you are getting punished, then it is in your enemy's best interest to make sure that you don't get to the point of following Yahweh's law. It is in your enemy's best interest that you just do a song and dance and never find out anything about who he is and what he expects of you. Go ahead.
Then Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Yahshua, the son of Yosedek, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people, obeyed the voice of Yahweh their El, and the words of Haggai the prophet, as Yahweh their El had sent him, and the people did fear before Yahweh. Then spake Haggai, Yahweh's messenger, in Yahweh's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, says Yahweh. And Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Yehudah, and the spirit of Yahshua, the son of Yosedek, the high priest, and the spirit of all the remnant of the people. And they came and did work in the house of Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim.
And part of that is Yahweh blessing us, but you're going to have to take care of his business. See, we spend all our time. We say, you spend all your time taking care of your house. How's the house of Elohim? There's some folks that when we make the call and we say, well, look, we got to do such and such at the house. They already on the road. I be telling them, look, no, well, hold on. No, look, you got some other stuff going on. Don't worry about that. They already driving here. There's a different level of dedication because you understand one thing. You take care of Yahweh's business, Yahweh take care of yours. People started asking me, well, Shock, how you get this? I didn't get it because I took care of it. I went that way. I took care of Yahweh business that way. I went that way. When I came back home, my stuff was together.
Hey, who did all this? What happened in here? I don't know. We just felt like doing it. Well, feel like doing it tomorrow. I'm gonna get I'm gonna take care of his business, and then I'm gonna see if this happens tomorrow when I come back. You know what I'm saying? If this happens tomorrow, then it's a done deal. There it is. I'm taking care of Yahweh's business, and I'm gonna come back to the house and see what he done took care of. Hey, I'm happy on the way home. So why you so happy going on? I'm gonna see what Yahweh did today. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't take care of that. I didn't take care of his stuff. But when I get home, I'm trying to see what he took care of. Right. Let's go. I want to go to this, dealing with this bag with holes in it. We're going to go to the next graphic, and let's go to this situation on Wells Fargo. See, this is financial warfare. We got to spend a little time. There's a couple things we got to get out of this. Go ahead.
Wells Fargo lawsuit article. Wells Fargo's racist history and the call for reparations. Each June, Black Americans commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people on Juneteenth. On the 19th of June in 1865, federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to free the last slaves 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed.
Right, that Juneteenth. Go ahead.
This holiday holds deep significance for Black Americans as a celebration of liberation. In the years following emancipation, the so-called owners of captive slaves were compensated for their loss.
Stop. And I need you to pay attention here. So the slave owners received reparations. Okay? And they keep telling us how much they don't have any money or whatever, but them Ukrainians done got 40 million and they now have benefits. They got benefits. Soon as they hit the ground, they got benefits. Go ahead.
And you're looking at that as commerce. They lost product. So they were compensated for the product they lost.
Right. Well, you know what? They had papers on those products. Go ahead.
Meanwhile, those whose forced labor built the wealth of this nation were never repaid and were, in fact, systematically harmed by those who profited in the wake of emancipation. The effects of this failure to redistribute wealth are felt to this day and have contributed greatly to current racial inequities. It's time for those who profited from the suffering of Black people to pay reparations, including Wells Fargo.
All right, next graphic.
While Wells Fargo was founded in 1852, it acquired Wachovia in 2008. Thus intertwining itself with a very dark history. Wachovia was founded in 1879, descended from the Georgia Railroad and Banking Company, the Bank of Charleston, and Atlanta's Fourth National Bank. All of these companies had deep ties to the mistreatment of Black people. As part of their banking practices, the Georgia Railroad and Banking Company accepted slaves as collateral on mortgaged properties or loans.
Stop. So they bought houses and their collateral was the slaves that they owned. So when people start telling you, well, I don't own no slave, understand, all of this stuff has been passed down, through inheritance. All right? So you got people who were born multimillionaires because of the people that their ancestors owned. So now, they want you to just look at, the slave was just, he was, this person that they beat out in the field. He was also loan collateral. Go ahead.
They owned at least 162 slaves during their time. The Bank of Charleston had similar practices, accepting minimum 529 slaves as collateral for loans and mortgage properties.
Uh-huh.
When slave owners defaulted on their payments, the bank would seize ownership of some slaves.
All right. Now, I know y'all not going to like this. Some people not going to like this. But the term, my nigga. Give me my nigga. What you talking about? That's my nigga. You see that right there? That's why the niggas had to have names. Because you got to figure out, you can't just put, strong black Negro boy. You got to put a name on the boy so that the boy could be used as collateral for the loan. And if they defaulted on the loan, you come back. I want this my nigga right here. Where this nigga at? Go ahead.
Atlanta's Fourth National Bank was founded by former mayor of Atlanta, James English, through the profits he generated from his company, the Chattahoochee Brick Company. By 1897, English leased at least 1,206 black convicts in Georgia to labor for his businesses, including the Chattahoochee Brick Company.
Uh-huh.
The conditions were abysmal, with historian Douglas Blackman describing the company as a death camp for the majority black convicts.
And they're doing all the same thing again right now in the privatized prisons. The same thing is happening. It is just happening in a circle. They put a different face and a different name, but it's the same thing. Go ahead.
When Wells Fargo acquired Wachovia, it made no apology for how Wachovia generated its wealth, in part through slavery or convict labor. The past of Wachovia and Wells Fargo informed their present-day practices, which build on this history of discrimination and harm through modern channels.
Next graphic.
A federal investigation found that from 2004 to 2009, Wells Fargo harmed black and Hispanic communities through engaging in discriminatory lending practices against 30,000 black and Hispanic borrowers.
Them just the ones they caught. Okay? This is that bag with the hole in it. Go ahead.
This ultimately resulted in Wells Fargo paying over $175 million in a 2011 settlement with the United States Justice Department.
Yeah, but what did that do for the folk who done lost their houses, lost their drive and will to do certain things because they put everything they had into that home and it was illegally and deceitfully taken from them. And let me tell you something. When a house forecloses, the game that they play, they foreclose on the house. Let's say the house is $80,000. All right? But you got $40,000 worth of equity in that house. They took that house and the $40,000 of equity. That $40,000 of equity, that's supposed to be yours. That was yours. So that means there's certain houses that they hold for a while because they don't want to take it just yet. They want you to get more equity in the home. Then it makes it more flippable, if you will. Because there's equity in the house, meaning that, all right, we took this house because he owed us $40,000. But the house is now worth $120,000, and he done paid $40,000 in it. So we get his equity and the amount that it has appraised for, the up value. So it's a win-win. Get the houses, let them keep it for a while, and then take it. And they keep recycling the same house. They done made $1 million off of $100,000 house because they keep selling it and then take it. Same thing. You imagine how rich you can be if we start selling lemonade, right? But we're going to sell the same cup of lemonade. Not like a lot of cups of lemonade. No. I'm going to sell the cup. Then I'm going to take the cup. And I'm going to resell the same cup. And then I'm going to take that cup. And I'm going to resell the same cup. Oh, it don't take long to figure out you finna be a cajillionaire. They're selling the same houses. They don't have to get new houses. Go ahead.
But the same year of their discrimination settlement, Wells Fargo became the second largest investor in GEO Group,
Uh-huh.
a leading private prison corporation with 4.3 million shares in the company.
Uh-huh.
Just 1 year later, Wells Fargo was named as the issuing lender on a $785 million line of credit for CCA.
Now, you can't get no loan, but the people who imprison your people can. Go ahead.
Another leading private prison corporation presently known as Core Civic, and was also named as the trustee for a $300 million GEO Group bond. Not only did Wells Fargo learn nothing from its discriminatory lending lawsuit, it proceeded to bankroll the two leading corporations perpetuating modern-day enslavement of black Americans through the private prison system. The chart featured in a report by In the Public Interest outlines the history between these private prison operators and Wells Fargo in more detail.
All right, next graphic.
What's the significance of this? Core Civic and GEO Group are corporations which profit from and perpetuate the imprisonment and modern-day enslavement of black Americans.
Now, this is all about the banks that we're going to, and this is all the deals that they are making with your money. Then you have problem getting access to your money, but they investing in your destruction. Go ahead.
In 2019, Wells Fargo succumbed to the mounting public pressure of prison divestment campaigns by stating it was exiting the credit agreement with Core Civic and phasing out its partnership with GEO Group. This was a significant win for the organizers involved with these campaigns. But as of December 2021, Wells Fargo still held over 100,000 shares total in these private prison companies.
So they just separated themselves from the public involvement. Go ahead.
In the same realm, Wells Fargo has a history of being among the top sponsors, funders, and board members for police foundations of multiple major cities, including sponsoring police foundations in Charlotte, Sacramento, and Seattle, Atlanta, and Charlotte. Police foundations are private organizations dedicated to raising money for police departments as well as supplying them with weaponry and surveillance technology.
Right. They just got caught by their own surveillance technology that recorded them beating the man to death. Go ahead.
Their private status enables these foundations to add millions of dollars to police budgets with very little public oversight or approval.
Right. Private status enables these foundations to add millions of dollars to police budgets. Go ahead.
Police foundations have been known to supply departments with canines and police horses, both used as a means to harm black people and protesters. The surveillance technology these foundations provide to police departments are highly controversial and disproportionately tested and targeted in black, brown, and indigenous communities. In response to the calls to defund the police that arose in the general public during summer 2020, the police foundations for NYC, Washington, D.C., Seattle, and Philadelphia removed information on their websites regarding partnered organizations and board members.
Right, so that they can protect the people who are still giving them funds to do all of these things in our neighborhood. Go ahead.
A shameful act intended to limit the public's knowledge and to protect donating corporations like Wells Fargo from public outrage. In this year of 2022, a senior leader from Wells Fargo is listed on the Atlanta Police Foundation's Board of Trustees, giving ample reason to believe that their efforts to fund state-sanctioned violence against black Americans isn't stopping anytime soon.
All right, next graphic.
In addition, Wells Fargo has consistently shown that it has no reservations about targeting its black patrons with predatory schemes. Their discriminatory practices against black homebuyers have failed to shift, prompting the city government of New York City to divest from opening any new accounts with Wells Fargo in April 2020. This is noteworthy given that in the midst of the wave of racial reckoning that swept the nation in the summer of 2020, Wells Fargo CEO and President Charlie W. Scharf issued 5 major commitments in the realms of representation, compensation, diversity role reporting, education session, and anti-racism manager training.
And it's a bunch of mess. Go to graphic number 26.
The superficial nature of Wells Fargo's PR response was revealed earlier last year when they asked shareholders to vote no on racial equity resolutions. In recent days, they, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citigroup Inc., Goldman Sachs Group Inc., JP Morgan Chase, have all officially opposed shareholder groups' calls for them to conduct and publicize racial equity audits and other changes, saying they are already doing enough to address equity issues. Wells Fargo's actions as of late, with its relationship with the black community hanging on a tightrope, have only exacerbated the problem. A lawsuit filed on March 18th in a San Francisco federal court argues that Wells Fargo's practices push black homers into foreclosure, which Bloomberg referred to as a modern form of redlining.
Now, other companies have done the same thing. I remember they had one of those companies in Atlanta that was called Fleet Finance. They have foreclosed on all kind of houses, mostly all black people. It took decades for those people to start getting some money from that. But most of those people lost their houses. And they was hitting them with all these false fees, false foreclosure. You look, and what is the gain? They're reselling the same houses. Where are they getting them from? Us. They keep taking our houses and reselling them. Go ahead.
Bloomberg published an article only a week earlier detailing how Wells Fargo, the largest bank mortgage lender in the country, accepted less than half of black mortgage refinancing applicants in 2020.
Less than half. And then they play the game. If they have a appraiser, the appraiser turn around and appraise your property at a lesser value. Now you can't get the money that you applied for. This that hole in the bag. Go ahead.
72% of white refinancing applicants were approved.
72. Go ahead.
Compared to just 47% of black applicants.
That number almost twisted around, ain't it? Go ahead.
Per Bloomberg's analysis and is visualized below, most recently, Wells Fargo was accused of conducting fake interviews of diverse candidates for positions that were already filled in a bid to boost diversity efforts on paper. Wells Fargo's overtly discriminatory practices are a blatant indication that its claims of having a watershed moment during the height of Black Lives Matter protests was a lie. Simply put, since its acquisition of Wachovia, Wells Fargo continues to utilize its financial power to uphold the institutions that directly threaten the well-being of black Americans in a bid to prioritize its own financial gain. Given all their wrongdoings, the only option is for Wells Fargo to use their billions of dollars to make restitution to all black people they exploited to become the financial powerhouse that they are.
And we know that that is not going to happen. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. I want to go to graphic number 27, and we're going to go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43. So, you know, the next time you hear that whole lazy black trope, you know, you have some place to put it. So we understand that this hole in the bag is a serious thing, because these are not things that you can, you know, go and put your finger on right away. Like, a person can holler the N-word at you and you can say, oh, that person is such and such. Hey, I'd rather them holler the N-word than put a hole in my bag. You call me a nigga, I call me a nigga too. Nigga. Just make sure my money is in that bag. You know what I'm saying? And look here, go ahead.
But when you cut that hole in my bag, that was a much worse thing. We get mad about the wrong things. You get mad because somebody call you a nigga? That's what you got mad about? I'm mad about that hole in my bag, man. We got folks losing jobs because somebody called them an N-word. Are you serious right now? I need to add a word before it. Nigga, paid. Mm-hmm. Right, just add a word before it. That's all I need. That's all I need. You just put it in context. But then make a whole sentence out of it. You need a subject and a predicate. All right? Deuteronomy 28. Read verse 43 and verse 44.
The stranger that is within you shall get above you very high, and you shall come down very low. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail.
Now, we already faced this issue dealing with the Hispanics. And now we're dealing with it once again. $40+ billion have already been given to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have right to Medicare, welfare, Social Security. They have all of these things immediately once they touch ground. So you're talking about the stranger coming up before you. Now, we got a hole in our bag, and somebody else is getting a whole new bag. They hadn't put in not one ounce of work in this country, and they already got money before they get here. And understand something. Ukrainian will openly call you a nigga in front of your face. And that's your money that they taking to give to these people. So we keep going through this situation. And somebody had sent the video about, how they'll turn around and turn the Haitians away, but will give all these other people money. What's the common denominator? Color. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, and I want to go to verse 48. So we should be at graphic 29 now. Deuteronomy 28, I want to start that at 48.
Therefore shall you serve your enemies, which Yahweh shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you.
And understand, these are future things at this point. These are things after Egypt. So anybody claiming that they were slaves in Egypt does not apply. This has to be done after. Go ahead.
Yahweh shall bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose tongue you shall not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, or show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of your cattle and the fruit of your land until you be destroyed, which also shall not leave you either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of your kind, or flocks of your sheep, until he have destroyed you. And he shall besiege you in all your gates, until your high and fenced walls come down, wherein you trusted throughout all your land. And he shall besiege you in all your gates throughout all your land, which Yahweh your Elohim has given you. And you shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and of your daughters.
Now, from the food of parts in, they can't get out to get any resources. That's a war tactic. All right? It is a war. It is war. Where conflict arises and a bomb go off at Spaghetti Junction. People say, "Well, nobody on it." It wasn't meant for nobody. It was meant now. You can't keep getting around. Do you understand now how long it's going to take that you got to go all the way around the city to go get some eggs? Go ahead.
Which Yahweh Elohim has given you in the siege and in the straitness wherewith your enemies shall distress you. I think that was supposed to be at 51, right?
Yeah. Now, and one of these things that we have to deal with, even when it talks about, a nation that you shall not understand, one of the things that we would always hear, there are people who boast their heritage or try to prove that they are Israel because they speak the language and they speak Yiddish.
but they want to tell us about the Hebrew. Now, our people have bought into it too. So now our people are going out learning all of these things. Yahweh says in the beginning, I'm going to send you to a land, to a nation of a language that you don't know. And if you go there not knowing the language, what you think going to happen to your kids? They going to learn that other language, not that one you speaking. So once again, the very thing that the people are using to try to establish that they are the true people is actually testifying against them if you understand what's written. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60. But see, if somebody can give you a little self-esteem, or you don't speak the language. Now you run around trying to learn how to speak Jamaican, and you know, you ain't doing nothing you supposed to be doing. You over here trying to speak Jamaican. Isaiah 60 and verse 1.
Arise, shine, for your light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon you. For, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people.
Mm-hmm.
But Yahweh shall arise upon you, and his glory shall be seen upon you.
Now, his glory shall be seen upon you. And then what's going to happen?
And the Gentiles shall come to your light.
Now, wait a minute. Now, the Gentiles going to come to your light. Now, how is that going to work if the Israelites are Gentiles and then the Gentiles come to Gentiles? Go ahead.
And kings to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes round about, and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to you. Your sons shall come from far, and your daughters shall be nursed at your side.
Okay, so where are all these people coming from? Well, where are all these people coming from if they already in the land? Matter of fact, the people in Israel said, there's no need to look for no lost tribes. You're not very family oriented, are you? Who in their right mind will say, you know, my kids are lost, but don't look for them? There's something seriously wrong with that individual. Who would say that? But you want to tell us that you're the Holy Family, but you don't want to look for the rest of the family? Go ahead.
Then you shall see and flow together, and your heart shall fare and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto you. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto you.
What are their forces? Money. Money. Here go your reparations. We get it here, we know we're going to be broke in 30 days. We're going to have diamond-encrusted gym clips. You know what I'm saying? Diamond eyeglasses. You know what I'm saying? We can't even see. What up, hey, what up, dog? Bruh, can you even see? No, man, it's too bright. I can't see nothing. I don't see nothing but diamonds, baby. We're going to turn around and get all the money right back. Y'all ain't no better. I ain't giving them no money when they here. So y'all can cut out that whole reparations while we here thing. All right? Because we ain't going to have nothing. Coming out of Egypt, on our way out, they said, borrow you of the Egyptians. Then that stuff was then used to help build Yahweh's holy place. What you going to build? He give you some money now. Right. Go ahead.
The multitude of camels shall cover you, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. All they from Sheba shall come, they shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of Yahweh. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They shall come up with the acceptance on mine altar, and I'll glorify the house of my glory. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first.
Wait a minute. Tarshish, Spanish ships. It's them Spanish ships that carried that Negro cargo. Wait a minute. That ain't how they got to where they got. Matter of fact, we don't know how they got to Germany. We can't find out how they got to Germany. But it says those big Spanish ships, the same ones that carried us all over the globe, Yahweh said
them same ships gonna bring you back home. And people always say, my family, they, a lot of them, when they was younger, they went on cruises, stuff like that. They be asking me, we should go on a cruise. I'm going on one boat ride. You understand? One. I'm saying?
One-way ticket.
One-way ticket. I don't need no return. You understand? It's one boat ride. Now, I get on that boat, we going home. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? So you in Carnival, all that, you can cancel that. Yeah. I say that now, but then the family start picking at you, you know what I'm saying? They even send the dog at you, rah, rah, oh man. Go ahead, bro.
To bring your sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, onto the name of Yahweh your Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified you. And the sons of strangers shall build up your walls, and their kings shall minister unto you. For in my wrath I smote you, but in my favor have I had mercy on you.
In my wrath I smote you. But see, I'm going to remove all of that. Then people going to understand why they was able to even do that stuff to you. You excel in everything you do, yet you can't overcome. That's that brass ceiling that's sitting on you that you can't go above that. When Yahweh pulled that out the way, it's going to confuse people. How are we able to ever rule over them? Because Yahweh was punishing them. That's the only way he was able to rule over them. Them people right there. Go ahead.
Therefore your gates shall be opened continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto you the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought.
Check that out. They got to bring so much money, we can't close the city. Like, look, we got to go to sleep. Well, somebody just stand at the gate to get all this money. I'm going to bed. We need a nighttime money crew. Just y'all stand at the gate and let the Gentiles in. They got to bring all this money. Yahweh hard, but he fair. All right. You done work for 2,000 years. What you think the check is for 2,000 years of work? That is I can't wait to see that check. Now you're going to get paid for that. That's the interest on that payment. This is when they said you just sit back and collect dividends. Mm-hmm. Your hardest work is going to the mail. What you got, man? I got to walk to this mailbox. Somebody help me carry all this money. Go ahead.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish.
The nation and kingdom that will not serve you will die. But why would he put that on somebody who's already rich now? Come on. Why would he give you that blessing and you own everything now? He's giving that to those who are suffering now. This is their payment. So get ready to get paid, Israel. But you got to make it. You got to make it. It says everyone that is left of all the nations, you got to make it. You might be whining, you might be limping, you might have a swollen eye. You got to make it. Go ahead, bro.
You know, you always say you play the game how you practice, right?
Yep.
And they don't realize they've been getting practice in for years. They used to sending stuff to Jerusalem right now.
They show up.
Hey, don't stop. Don't stop.
Constantly.
Don't stop.
Constantly. Keep sending the same stuff. You right about that, brother. They send everything. Just millions upon millions. Sending military equipment, everything. Yep, keep sending it. Just going to be a different person receiving. Thank you. But that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.